Hey everyone, let's jump right into part 3 of the spiritual fitness series, where we're going to talk about the hour disciplines as defined by Richard J. Foster in his book, Celebration of Discipline. So in the first video, I introduced the concept of spiritual fitness. And then in the second video, I discussed the inner disciplines, which is prayer, meditation, fasting, and study. In this video, we're going to talk about the hour disciplines, which is simplicity, solitude, submission, and service. So without further delay, let's jump right into the hour disciplines. All right, so first up is the discipline of simplicity. Yes, everybody knows that acronym, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. We like to complicate everything. And let's not do that though, especially when it comes to spiritual things. So let's just make it simple. The discipline of simplicity is basically an inward reality that has an outward result. All right, so as he writes it, is an inward reality that results in an outward lifestyle. So what you are on the inside, you live out on the outside, right? So and when you try to obtain the outward lifestyle of simplicity without that inward reality, without that inward change, you're basically legalistic. When we think of legalism, the first things that come to mind are the Pharisees, right? Because they had the appearance of righteousness, but they didn't have any power. They had the appearance of righteousness, but they were inwardly dead. Like Christ said, he said that they were whitewashed tombs, walking sepulchres. All right, they were just dead. They looked good, but they weren't. They were just zombies, basically, right? So that ties into one of my favorite sayings as I began to mature is, to thine own self be true, or be true to yourself. Now that had often rubbed people the wrong way, because they say, don't be true to your, like, why? Like, no, you want to be like, blah, blah, blah. They're like over spiritualizing it. And all I was basically saying was, be honest. Know where you're at. And from there, you take that to God in prayer and you say, God, this is where I am at. And I need you right now. I need you. I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy when I am depressed. I'm not going to pretend like I'm rich when I am dirt poor. I'm not going to pretend anymore. I'm going to be honest and let you know this is where I'm at inwardly. And I promise you, God will move. He will come and say, okay, you being real with me, I got you. And he's going to come. That's just how he is. All right, his mercy is going to cover you. His grace is going to be sufficient for you. But if you're lying to him and trying to psych yourself out, you may psych everyone else out, but you can't psych him out. But I'm telling you, once you're honest with God and you keep it simple, watch your spiritual life flourish. I'm telling you from experience. All right, this is what I know. So as you seek to develop more of the discipline of simplicity, one of the key things to keep in mind is that you want to focus on the kingdom of heaven, right? Like Jesus said, seek the kingdom of heaven and everything else will be added unto you. So as you seek Christ and his kingdom, everything that you need will be added unto you in its proper order. Next up is the discipline of solitude. Now, I know when people think of solitude, you may think like you have to go off and you're sitting on a mountain somewhere or somewhere by yourself. But the discipline of solitude is more or less a state of mind and heart than it is a place. Believe it or not, there is a solitude of the heart that can be maintained at all times and in any situation. Inward solitude has many manifestations, and one of the key manifestations is the ability to be alone. There is freedom in being alone, not just to get away from people, but just to get away so you can hear God. You have to learn, we have to develop, we have to get to this place to where we can where we can be by ourselves, where we're not carrying other people's baggage, where we're not carrying all of our cares, to where it's just us and it's just God inwardly, to where when there's all kinds of hell, all kinds of chaos going on around you, as long as you can be right there and you say, okay guys, me and you, what's going on? And you have that chamber, so to speak, that little holy of holies where it's just you and nothing else, you and God, nothing else can penetrate or get into that. That is a key discipline that you need to develop to improve your spiritual life. Next up is the discipline of submission. Now, hold on. I know whenever we think of submission, we think of someone that has to be a slave or a person that doesn't have a will. No, in the spiritual sense, a person that has the discipline of submission, they release that burden of always having to have their way, of always having to be right, of always just being in charge, of always wanting things their way or the highway. When you have the discipline of submission, it's not about you. You're not focused on your goal, because in the end, the goal is for Christ to be glorified. In the end, the goal is to promote the kingdom. In the end, is for God to get all the glory. In the end, it's about Him, not about us. Get this. Outwardly, we can do what someone asks, but inwardly, we could be in utter rebellion against them. You know, that joke that Smokey said to Debo, well, he said it correct by Debo, I'll be quiet, but when he leave, I'll be talking again. And I mean, that's it. You know, people, when, you know, we have this fake attitude of submission. We have this fake, you know, like, I'll do it, but I'm doing it begrudgingly. I don't want to do it. And that is not the discipline of submission. That is just like, hey, you know what, whatever, I'm doing it just to please you. I don't want to do it. But as you develop the discipline of submission, you'll do things for other people with joy. You're like, you know what, all right, I got you. This is what I want to do. I want to help. Because you know it's not about you. Your whole heart changes. The discipline of submission changes how we view people. It helps us deal with those feelings of bitterness, and it helps us live out Christ's commands to love one another. Last but not least, the discipline of service. Foster writes, as the cross is the sign of submission, the towel is the sign of service. He then goes on to use the story where Christ washed the disciples' feet. Now, hey, God knows that He's a better man than me, because I hate feet. I don't want to wash nobody's feet. So that's something that He got to work out in me. But the whole point of what Christ did, He was to show, because the disciples always argued about who was the best, who was greater, who was going to be the greatest. And Jesus said all the time, He's like, yo, the greatest in heaven is going to be a servant. The least among you is going to be the greatest. Because at that time, their whole view changed. I mean, well, the whole view was, you know, to be served, and, you know, to be like, look at me, I'm this great disciple, blah, blah, blah. But Jesus was like, no, I'm about to flip that up a little bit. All right, I'm going to abolish this little pecking order that you guys have going on. All right, and so He taught and He illustrated that the greatest leaders are those who serve. That's why He said, I came to not to be served, but to serve. The discipline of service, we must experience the many deaths, albeit some of them small, some of them great, of going beyond ourselves to help someone else. The discipline of service is basically living out the command to love one another. Furthermore, the discipline of service helps us do the mundane things. No, everyone doesn't want to do the mundane things. They don't want to do the things that don't give them glory. They don't want to do the things that does give them recognition. We all want recognition. But when you have the heart of a servant, when you have the heart of Christ, like, you don't really care about that. You do it because it's the right thing to do. You do it because it needs to be done. You don't care about the fanfare. You don't care about the praise of people. You do it because it needs to be done. Now, there is a great danger in the discipline of service, because now you have self-righteous service and you have true service. Obviously, self-righteous service is to where you do things to make yourself feel good. Now, as you are engaging and working on developing the discipline of service, here's some things to look out for to be sure you're operating in true service versus self-righteous service. Number one, self-righteous service comes through human effort. We all know, we remember the parable that the story that Jesus told. It says that, the Pharisees do things to be seen by people. Don't be that guy. Don't be that woman. Just do things because it's the right thing to do. Now, true service, on the other hand, is when you are so connected with God on the inside that you can hear him, you feel his promptings, and you know what to do and when to do it. For example, there's some times where you have $20, right? And you see someone in need, or you're talking to someone and you hear God say, you feel him pricking, or he's nudging you to give them some money. Say, hey man, you know what? Here's $20 to get something to eat. That's service. You're obeying the Spirit, you're following the Spirit, and then when he's giving you that prompting, that urge to do something, then you do it. That's true service versus say, hey, I gave you $20, go and be blessed. Like, no, just here's $20, go get some food. God bless you, I'm gone. You don't do it to get recognition. You don't do it to get fame. You don't do it to make yourself feel better. You do it because you obey God telling you to do something. Another example of self-righteous service versus true service is this. Self-righteous service, they are more concerned about keeping score. They're more concerned about the big deals. Like, hey, you know what? Look at all that I've done. Look at how much I gave. Look at how much I donated. Look at how much I tithe. This is what I've done for the kingdom. Oh my God, look at me. Look at what I've done. And then where a person of true service, they just do it because it needs to be done. Great or small, they just do it. And they're not looking to get a pat on the back. They just say, hey, you know what? I'm doing this for my Lord. I'm doing this because I love you. Another example of self-righteous service versus true service is that self-righteous service wants to be seen. They want to be rewarded externally. Like look at this great thing I've done. Give me my applause. Where's my reward? Whereas when you're operating out of true service, you don't care. You actually prefer to be hidden. Like, I don't nobody needs to know about this. All right, here. You do it and you're content with being hidden. Self-righteous service picks and choose who they want to serve. Whereas true service doesn't discriminate. They see a need, the need is met. It doesn't matter if they're rich or poor, big or small, great or least. If something needs to be done, someone needs help, they do it. One last example I'm going to borrow from the book is this. Self-righteous service, they serve on a whim. A person that's operating out of self-righteous service only serves when in a moment. They serve temporarily, whereas a person that operates out of true service, they serve because it's a lifestyle. That is their lifestyle. They live a lifestyle of service. Which one are you? I'm sure some of us have, a box checked here and a box checked over here. If no matter where you're at, we want to move over to true service. We want to move over and develop that. We're getting fit. We're getting spiritually fit. So don't panic. Just be honest. Be true to yourself. Know where you're at. Make those adjustments. And let's continue to get spiritually fit.